you feel like you're kind of going a little bit crazy because everything's coming at you. And I remember that I was having such a hard time trying to take it all in that I was afraid to turn the lights off in my bedroom because I was afraid of what the next day was going to look like. You know, you look at those kind of situations, Chris, and you're saying, hope. I was just hoping to get up the next morning. I was just hoping that I wouldn't get another phone call about something else bad that was happening. I was hoping for a better day the day after that and the next week and the next month. It felt like the summer would never end. It was just so many things hitting at the same time. But what happened is still something that was the inspiration to write the second book. We chose that time. We chose that moment in time to do something special. I'm Jay Myers, and I share hope.
Welcome to I Share Hope, the podcast where world leaders share their real stories of hope and how you can use actionable hope to start changing your life today. And now, here's your host, Chris Williams.
Okay, I'm here with Jay Myers. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it, Chris. Thanks for having me on the show.
That's fantastic. Let me tell you a little about Jay. Jay is the founder and CEO of Interactive Solutions, Inc. He founded it in 1996. It is a $25 million company with over 51 employees. He has offices all over the Mid-South: Memphis, Nashville, Chattanooga, Knoxville, Birmingham, Oxford, Mississippi, Little Rock. Really growing, done a lot. He was named 7 times, or the company was named 7 times in the past 11 years in Inc. magazine as one of the fastest growing privately held companies in the United States. Wall Street Journal named him in the small business section. He's published a couple of books: Keep Swinging, an entrepreneur's story of overcoming adversity and achieving small business success. Also, Hitting the Curveballs, how crisis can strengthen and grow your business. These are amazing books. I have read the first one into the second one, actually in reverse order. I read the second one he produced first. They're really good. Jay's a phenomenal storyteller, sought-after speaker. Also mentioned very recently in Fast Company, an online publication, how leaders deal with moments of existential crisis. There's a lot here, and Jay has a lot to say. He is very successful, has had a great life, a great family, but you think, how does this guy need hope? Well, Jay's lived through a lot and come out stronger for it. So, Jay, tell us a little more about yourself.
Well, Chris, I appreciate all the accolades, by the way. Most of them I probably don't deserve. I've got a great team, and I think for all of your listeners and folks out there, you don't get success on your own. And particularly in small business, you have to have the team. And I've got a great bunch of folks that have been with me a long time that have been able to make that happen. You know, in learning about myself and everything, I've lived in Memphis a long time, went to school here, Christian Brothers High School, University of Memphis. Had a couple of jobs, 2 or 3 on the way to entrepreneurship, and working for major corporations like Eastman Kodak, Hewlett Packard. Probably the most beneficial experience. All of them meant something to me, but the one that kind of led me to my place today was when I was working for a telecom company here in Memphis called ATS. And within that company experience, I got a chance to get introduced to this technology called video conferencing. And it literally changed my life. By virtue of being able to be put in a position to grow a business underneath a business, particularly in this case, video conferencing within a telecom company, I took a group, me, myself, and I initially, when I left there, we had over 20 people, and from the startup to 5 years later, $5 million in sales. So brand new technology, learned a lot about profit and loss and cash flow and things, and was able to be an entrepreneur and be able to actually build a business, again, underneath a business. It was priceless. I would never have started ISI had I not had that experience. Some quick notes there. How did I get ISI started? I'm the all-American entrepreneur. I got started because the telecom company fired me on my 39th birthday.
Oh, yeah.
So as I look back and I say that was a priceless experience, it was. And I think it took the shock of getting fired on my 39th birthday to realize where I think God intended me to be all along, which was to be an entrepreneur and own my own business. I remember my late parents used to both say that to me quite often as I was struggling through my career, that you really ought to open up your own business. You're just that kind of guy. But it's interesting. As you look back in your career and everything, you have to have moments in time that those make sense, that kind of advice, and other times it doesn't. You just have to kind of get there. And in my case, I was, for the lack of a better word, shocked into entrepreneurship. And, quick thing on ISI, appreciate again those great accolades about the Inc. Recognition. We started out very slow. First year we did $260,000 in business. And yes, we've gone over $20 million over the last few years and what have you. I think, is that interesting? We're going to be 19 years old as a company in next March. I mean, is that eye-popping growth? Yeah, kind of, sort of, I guess, but we've been around a long time. I think that is something to be said for that in technology, to be around that length of time. But also, I think what makes our story interesting, Chris, is that the experiences that we've had. You mentioned me being a storyteller. I never really thought about myself necessarily being that, but this place and this business and the history of this place has created a lot of stories. And at the end of the day, one of the reasons why I wrote a couple of books was not to be the next John Grisham, but was to share those stories of our experiences to help other people. And to the point of your show, to give them hope.
Yeah.
Because a goofball like me that made C's in college, that wasn't the smartest guy ever, still am not very technical, have been able to, with God's help and with hope, been able to build a successful company that's still around today.
That's great. I think it's great for a couple of reasons. One, you look successful on this side of the story, and it doesn't look like you would need hope, in a sense, the same way. There's no hardship the way it looks today. But you've come through it, you've done it, you've worked hard. It takes 20 or 30 years. It's not been fast. And entrepreneurism or life or raising kids or whatever it is, there's a lot of doing involved in the hope process. All right, so here's how the interview works. We ask a series of questions, 5 questions in a row. First question is, what's your definition of hope, or the best hope quote that you have that you kind of fall back to and remember?
Well, it's interesting. I was thinking about this in preparation for this interview, and my favorite quote, hope quote, is going to be tied to business, I guess, because I am the small business owner and everything, but it's something I actually quoted in my second book, Hitting the Curveballs, but and I'm not being disrespectful to try to answer the question, but hope is not a management strategy for a business. But my definition of hope is that it's the deep feeling that one has that things will get better.
Wow.
In the deepest place of your being, hope gives you that feeling that whatever you're going through, the light, the sun's going to come up tomorrow and it's going to be a better day. And I'll tell you, hope has served me very well in this business. Although I wouldn't define it as a management strategy, because you have to have some metrics and analytics and things to run your business.
Sure.
And that's the financial side of it. But the emotional side of it, that every small businessman knows what I'm talking about, you have to have that as part of your making it.
Yeah.
Day to day, month to month, year to year. So those are the ways I view it.
Very true. That's a great quote. Really is. Thank you. Question number 2, who's given you the most hope in life? Who's been there and poured all that into your life?
Well, this was an easy one. So the first one was a little bit kind of trying to figure that one out a little bit, but this was easy. My wife and children and my family. Specifically my wife Maureen and my children, Jordan and Caitlin, Katie, otherwise known as, and we have been through a lot as a family. We've had loss of life. My parents have been gone for a while. I lost 2 brothers. We've had a lot of different things with my wife's family and just other family challenges. But we share the hope together. We share the vision that tomorrow will be a better day, and that's what I think keeps the 4 of us going. Honestly.
Phenomenal. I've heard that many, many times. It's the relationships that seem to keep coming back and being the underpinning of so much strength. Question 3, when was hope all you had, and how did you use hope to make it through? Give me a story there. Give me the background, paint a picture, and tell me what happened.
Sure, Chris, and I don't want to be this shameless marketing guy here, always spouting about his books and the authors and all these things, but I do think that, again, I wrote the books not because I'm trying to be John Grisham. I wrote the books because I wanted to help people. Underneath all this, to help people, to share the experiences, to go through some of those stories, very personal. I don't write it like an academic. They're like real life stories, and in order to help people and give them hope. And as I look at Hitting the Curveballs, the most recent book that was published earlier this year, I think that the place that I would say the hope really that I had to have it to get through it was actually in the first chapter of the book. I called it The Summer from Hell. And I'll briefly make this story happen for you here, or portray it, and it was in a series of about 30 days. So stay with me when I go through all this, and I'll try to communicate it properly. But in the space of 30 days, I had 4 key sales and support personnel leave my business. Salespeople accounted for somewhere around 80% of my revenue, all in a few weeks. Within that same period of time, one of my top support technicians, installer, was in the hospital with a liver transplant and died on the operating table. Within that same period of time, a good friend was on vacation and literally died when he got off the beach and got transported from to a hospital, and went to 2 funerals, Saturday, like bookends.
Wow.
In the same period of time, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Unbelievable.
There's a moment in my life that I look back over 7 years later that I think I still feel traumatized. I mentioned this in the Fast Company interview. You feel like you're kind of going a little bit crazy because everything's coming at you. And I remember that I was having such a hard time trying to take it all in that I was afraid to turn the lights off in my bedroom because I was afraid of what the next day was going to look like.
Wow.
You know, you look at those kind of situations, Chris, and you're saying, hope. I was just hoping to get up the next morning. I was just hoping that I'd have an office to go back to, that people would be in it, to my employees to support my business. I was just hoping that I wouldn't get another phone call about something else that was bad that was happening. I was hoping for a better day the day after that, and the next week, and the next month. It felt like the summer would never end. It was just so many things hitting at the same time. But I do think that when you go through those kind of things, that God challenges you at different times. You're reading my first book about an embezzlement that we had years ago, in fact 4 years before this crazy summer, and we thought we'd seen it all. We had ladies stolen a bunch of money from us. We had to prosecute. It was a surreal experience. Honestly, I thought everything, we'd been through the worst. I was pretty much convinced of that. And then that summer hit. And I think that that's what, for people who listen to this interview, need to understand is, God doesn't hand you challenges because it's convenient for you to deal with it, and it's, hey, it's Wednesday, we got a little bit of space between our, it doesn't work like that. 4 years later, we get challenged big time yet again. That summer could have put us out of business, Chris.
Yeah.
Easily.
Wow.
But what happened is still something that was the inspiration to write the second book. We chose that time. We chose that moment in time to do something special. We didn't know it at the time. Keep in mind, the summer of 2007, a few months after that, guess what happened? That annoying thing you may have heard about called the Great Recession.
Yeah, I heard about it once or twice.
We're trying to grow a business.
Wow.
When everybody else is trying to stay in business.
Wow.
And I'm very proud of what we did was we used that whole crisis, that whole horrible situation, to wipe the slate clean and do something special. And what was that something special? We doubled business during the recession.
Incredible.
Now we're kind of going through some weird things today on some of the business and trying to maintain and try to continue to grow. But in a 4-year period of time, we went from 11 to $25 million in sales, from 07 to 11.
The worst time ever to grow a business.
The worst time ever to grow a business.
Wow.
And so Chris, honestly, the theme of this interview is hope. That's all we had at that point. That we felt like the days were going to be better in the future than they had been in the past. And we didn't dwell in the past. And I got to tell you, I'm not a hero here. I'm just a regular guy. But what I did, I think, maybe different from some other people and people who listen to this interview, is I listened to my people. They understood we were under the gun, and they responded. Some people that we would never expect. I mean, we have engineers that work around here. Some of them, you know, they're not very emotional, but when it comes to you back them in a corner.
Yeah.
It's amazing what people can do. And I discovered, and they can read the book, your listeners and everything about people. My engineer's been with me the longest time. This guy, when we had all the salespeople leave, he's the guy that came up with the idea to have a pep talk and get them to, the people that still were here, the sales team, to get it going and blaze their own trail and all that.
Wow.
So sometimes moments of the greatest distress can create the greatest opportunity. That's what happened in our case.
Incredible story. What's your definition of hope one more time? If you can just
my definition of hope, and this is just me talking, I didn't look in the dictionary or anything, Wikipedia. But
That's better.
I think it's a deep feeling that one has that things will get better.
And somehow you were able to not only have that, truly have it in your own heart, but also communicate it to your team, your family, friends. I mean, you had it on all levels of life. You were getting hammered,
Right.
and your friends and family were getting hammered.
Honestly, Chris, at one point, again, I'm not a hero here. I thought it was kind of like the human side of me was going, it felt like God was piling on. I mean, it's like, you know, come on, I can take a couple of these things, but really 4 or 5 in a row kind of deal, and just, I felt battered, I'm traumatized or whatever. But when that situation, when we started to pull out of it, and we started to get excited about what we could do, when we had that hope firmly planted in the middle of our psyche,
Sure.
then it became a rallying cry.
That's,
And then, you know, we did some other things. I mean, hope became part of the mantra for the 2008, as I recall. And I kind of kicked it another gear. And I remember walking around this building saying, you know, the recession, I don't want to talk about it. We're choosing not to participate.
yeah.
And so I went around, I had nothing to base it on, other than just being stubborn. I said, you know, we're not selling, you know, bank loans or what all this stuff was going on those days.
Sure.
And by the way, even today, if we sit here 6 years later, there are still small businesses that are absolutely scarred by that whole recession. I mean, it's still tough. But what we did was use all of that negativity to learn from it and move forward. And hope was a big piece of that. We hoped and we worked hard for a better future.
I love it. Really do. From reading your book, I know a story of something's in your lobby walking in here. We're in your conference room today. The lobby out there, you have this huge piece of white paper, it looks like, stuck on the wall, but it's really nice and 8 feet tall, a letter from a physician in Arkansas. And if I remember correctly, you gained that client during some of those times. And this letter just talks about the hundreds of people that the technology you provide here as a company has helped, because you were able to not just change the mind of your company. And this isn't meant to go back to an entrepreneurial story, but it's a hope story of you could have taken the back seat and folded, gone home, taken a lot less risk, whatever it may be, but you've actually helped and probably saved hundreds of lives because you stuck it out, went for it, and grew.
Well, I appreciate that.
And that's
Chris, the technology that you're referring to is telemedicine, and the client over in Arkansas, UAMS, University of Arkansas Medical Sciences Group, has just been a terrific client of ours. But the other thing that's interesting too is selling technology to them, and telemedicine carts and cameras and all the video conferencing technology is one thing, but the mission of what we're doing with that equipment as it applies to treating patients in rural areas. And yes, we're very proud of that letter. That's why we got the 8-foot version of it.
Sure.
But the other part of it is the stories behind that include people being in rural clinics where they're being treated for, and I could picture in one case a stroke victim, patient that was not a victim actually, because he was able to be treated by the specialist who was 200 to 300 miles away.
Incredible.
And was able to prescribe the proper drug, the TPA drug, to keep him from having a stroke, and literally went to the doctor one day for potentially life-altering event, and it could have been a death event.
Sure.
2 days later, he's back to work.
Incredible.
This is, and so this is much more than a business making money for us and for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's given. You have to do that because you
Yep.
can't support. We've got 50-some employees and all that stuff.
Sure.
It's a matter of, to me, leveraging technology to improve people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? At some level, give them hope that by virtue of using this technology and being a part of it, they can improve their lives and be able to go about doing what they enjoy doing in a rural community and not having to worry about trying to take off to go to the doctor and all these other kind of
Sure.
things. So those are also, we see a bigger mission with our technology.
That's great to hear that.
Thank you.
Next question. Let's see, number 4. How are you sharing hope today? So you've come through a lot, been through a lot, learned a lot. What are you doing today that you're involved in that is really actively giving hope to others?
Chris, like you, I'm a mentor with the StartCo folks downtown Memphis with the incubator and the startup companies, which is really a lot of fun. I know you've done a lot of things there, perhaps probably even more than I have in trying to help with business plans and everything. But I think that those kind of things, we're involved with that. We try to provide hope to those young entrepreneurs that, you get this business off the ground, you can be sitting in my shoes 18, 19 years from now. And you can be successful, and just to hang in there, provide them that kind of hope, and we give them pep talks, and we try to work on their business plans and try to give them some ideas of how to make money, how to survive and grow a technology business. So, that's one way we do it. We also think by virtue of just running a successful business and employing people and kind of keeping it going, we know that there are people here that watch what we do every day. And by virtue of running a successful business that also has honesty, integrity, and ethics within the way we're running the business, not just running successfully, but doing it the right way, that we also provide hope to those folks as well. One of the things that I'm particularly proud about that kind of is sort of answering your question is that I've been a member of the board, the Better Business Bureau here in Memphis for a long time.
That's
I'm
right.
currently the board chair.
Wow.
And so what does that mean? My family's been involved in it for a number of years. My dad and my brother rented the organization for probably 2 or 3 decades here in Memphis.
Really?
But the other part of it is what does that mean? In today's environment, to have the representation of a business, in our case, with a technology business, to have as your foundation, pillars of the way you run your business, honesty, integrity, and ethics. Chris, you and I both know there's a whole lot of people out there that run their businesses in a very different manner.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of deceit, a lot of all kinds of behavior that's just not right.
Yeah.
So go back to that is, how do we share hope with the business community in particular by being representative on the Better Business Bureau board, by being active on it, by running this business every day. We seek to do it the right way with honesty, integrity, and ethics. We think that gives people hope, and when people deal with us, they know that they're dealing with a credible firm.
I think you're absolutely right. And it's great to see somebody giving hope and using hope, sharing it in their specialty. So often we think of a Mother Teresa type or somebody who's helping hunger issues in Africa, whatever it may be, that seems like, oh, that's giving hope. Education to kids who don't have enough. And they are. Those are fantastic causes. But you have to be oriented towards that often to do that, or donating dollars to it. But you're actually getting to use your time, your skill set, the way you're gifted, to bring hope in a genre that most folks don't think about sharing hope in.
We have a lot of feel a lot of pride about that. And then on the sort of the charitable and the social issues, we just had somebody come in here yesterday, Sister Maureen Griner from the Dorothy Day House, and they support the homeless in Memphis.
Yeah.
And our employees came in. I'm very proud of them. We have a program here called ISI Gives Back, and we put initiatives in front of our employees to see, is this something that you're interested in pursuing in terms of charitable donations? They vote on what we support.
Wow.
And you would have been proud, and I know I was, of the reaction my employees had to the Dorothy Day House. It doesn't take a lot to get people's attention when you talk about your people's lives and that they're living in the streets or living in the woods, and small children that don't have a place to sleep or have a dinner and be able to eat. It's unbelievable. So even here in 2014, to think about over 150 families in Memphis homeless, and the Dorothy Day House only has a certain number of places that they can provide, so they're kind of a temporary stopping point. They're not social workers. Sister Maureen Griner is a Catholic nun, but there's no religion overtone there per se. It's just people helping people, and our
That's
our
great.
folks really got it, and our people like to help people.
That's great to hear. Really is. You have given us some phenomenal stuff. So, last question. How can we take action today? The listeners who are tuning in, hearing the story, understanding what you've come through, what you've done, what would you say? Some simple 1, 2, 3 steps. Go to this resource, read this book. What can we do today to take action about hope and using hope in our lives or in the lives of the folks around us?
Well, I think, I'd love for people to read my books, again, marketing all the time, but that's just a portion of it. I think that one of your guests I believe you're going to have in future shows is Bill Courtney, and I think one of the things that I would close with your listeners is that, in dealing with any of the thing and trying to promote hope and all, is that you got to get out of your comfort zone, and you've got to engage to be able to and be vulnerable to what life throws at you and be able to react to it. So in our case, promoting hope, sharing the stories we have, and the fact that it was with hope that we're able to get through all these things in the past and dealing in the future as well, Chris. That stuff's not, as I just said, God doesn't look at you and say, guess what, it's done. In 07, you had the worst stuff happen. We have ongoing challenges today.
Sure.
But I think if you embrace the strategy of hope and believe that the next day is going to be better than the one you're in today, solid way to run your life and your business. And I will say that although it's not necessarily a management strategy, it's a great personal strategy to be able to interweave with your business and to be able to not only cope with the future and survive, but thrive as well.
That's really true. That's really true. I hear you loud and clear. It's so important for us to be able to recognize what's going on, deal with it honestly, know it's real, it's hard, it's painful, but you have to know there's a tomorrow. There really is. And you have to be able to keep focusing on, keep going, what's next, and building up the folks and supporting people around you, and also yourself internally.
Absolutely.
It's great. Really good. So how can we connect with you? If we want to follow you somewhere or learn more about you, obviously 2 phenomenal books. Got one, Keep Swinging, right here, and the second one, if I'm getting in the right order, Hitting the Curveballs.
Right.
Great books. You can find them online. But tell us, where else? Twitter, Facebook? What you got out there?
Yeah, Twitter would probably be the best place, at JB Myers.
Good.
MYERS. Be the best way. I also have a website for my book and public speaking and all these sort of things. J Myers, MYERS. People like to misspell it. J Myers, MYERS, CEO.com. Got everything
Great.
on there. Company website, ISITN, like Tennessee.com.
Excellent. These are worthwhile checking out. I've looked through them all many times and found good resources there. I'll put them all in the show notes on the website at isharehope.com. And I think that wraps up. Is there any last thing you want to tell us, or any last points of wisdom that we need to know about before we wrap it up here in a second?
I don't, not a whole lot there, Chris, except for the fact, I think, as I closed out, both these books and everything, you never give up. Believe in yourself. There's always hope.
Yeah, no kidding. It really is. We love to close the episodes out with a song. Any band or music you're listening to these days that you pop in and say, man, that's going to fire me up today. I'll be ready to get something done.
God, you really blew. You threw me off on that one, Chris, but I'm a big Steely Dan fan, so pretty much everything they've done, but I know my wife, if she's listening to this, might enjoy Babylon Sisters. So.
Okay, Steely Dan or Babylon Sisters. I'm sure we can find something there. That sounds good. Jay, thanks for your time.
Appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.
You've just listened to I Share Hope. If you're ready to make a change, head to our website at isharehope.com and claim your free copy of the Top 10 Actions of Hope from World Leaders to use hope in your own life. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.